This is Liam. Liam is a modern, trendy stickman who lives in a bustling, overcrowded megacity. For 5 long years, Liam lived in a charming, older apartment building constructed in the 1970s. It had thick brick walls, high ceilings, large wooden windows that let in the warm sunlight, and a beautiful green courtyard full of mature trees. Liam liked his old apartment, but he had a problem. He spent too much time scrolling through social media. Every day, his digital feed was flooded with flawless, high-tech luxury lifestyles. He saw successful young professionals buying beautiful apartments in brand-new, ultra-modern skyscrapers made of sparkling blue glass and polished steel. The marketing brochures for these new buildings promised a revolution in urban living. They used words like premium smart home ecosystem, exclusive minimalist architectural design, and sustainable luxury community infrastructure. Liam looked at his older brick building and suddenly felt ashamed. He thought his home was outdated, old-fashioned, and boring. He wanted to feel like a successful, sophisticated stickman who lives in the future. Liam made a big decision. He went to his bank, signed a massive mortgage contract that consumed 60% of his monthly salary, and bought a brand-new premium studio apartment on the 35th floor of a glittering new residential tower called the Crystal Box. The day he moved in, Liam was on top of the world. He walked across his shiny, perfectly uniform laminate floor, looked out of his floor-to-ceiling glass window at the city below, and felt like a true king of capitalism. He took a photo for his social media profile, added the caption, "Living my best life in the sky," and waited for the validation to arrive. Liam felt completely unstoppable. He genuinely believed he just bought a masterpiece of modern engineering. Liam was about to find out that he didn't buy a luxury sanctuary. He bought an overpriced, poorly constructed cardboard box in the sky. Today, we're going to expose the hidden decay of the modern construction industry. We will show you the dirty corporate shortcuts, the cheap materials disguised as premium luxury, and the economic dark side of the modern high-rise boom that is trapping a whole generation of buyers inside unlivable trash boxes. To understand why Liam's new life turned into a total disaster, we must look behind the shiny surface of modern real estate development. In the old days, housing developers built properties to last for generations because they relied on local reputations and solid, heavy materials like thick brick, real stone, and structural timber. But in the modern global economy, real estate development is no longer controlled by master builders. It is controlled by massive financial corporations, private equity funds, and spreadsheet analysts who only care about one single metric: maximizing the profit margin per square meter. When the Crystal Box was designed, the corporate executives sat in a boardroom and asked their engineers a dangerous question. What is the absolute minimum amount of material we can legally use without the building collapsing into the street? The goal was not to build a great place to live. The goal was to build a structure that looks beautiful on marketing brochures for exactly 3 years, until the developer's legal warranty expires, leaving the buyers to deal with the structural consequences. Liam discovered the first corporate shortcut on his very first night in his luxury apartment. He turned off his smart lights, lay down in his bed, and closed his eyes, expecting perfect, peaceful silence high above the noisy city streets. Instead, he heard a sound that made his ears twitch. He heard a clear, loud noise of a zipper opening. Then, he heard a voice say, "Where are my clean socks?" The sound was coming from his neighbor, a stickman named Gary, who lived in the apartment next door. Liam sat up in shock. The wall between his luxury studio and Gary's apartment was not made of solid brick or dense concrete. To save money, speed up construction, and reduce the weight of the skyscraper, the developer used the cheapest possible partitioning system. They installed a thin, hollow metal frame, stuffed it with a microscopic layer of low-grade insulation material, and covered it with 2 sheets of standard drywall. The wall was so thin that it functioned as a giant acoustic microphone. For the next 3 months, Liam didn't have any privacy. He could hear every single phone conversation Gary had. He knew Gary's favorite television shows. He knew Gary's banking passwords, and he could hear every single time Gary sneezed, coughed, or boiled water in his kitchen. Liam's premium, expensive luxury sanctuary had the exact same acoustic isolation as a cheap, low-cost plastic tent at a crowded music festival. But the paper-thin walls were only the beginning of Liam's modern architectural nightmare. The next major shock arrived when the seasons changed and the hot summer sun began to bake the megacity. Liam's apartment had a magnificent floor-to-ceiling glass wall. In the marketing videos, this glass wall was presented as the ultimate symbol of wealth and freedom. The actors in the commercial stood by the glass, sipping expensive coffee, looking at the beautiful horizon. What the commercial forgot to mention was a basic law of physics called the greenhouse effect. The glittering blue glass used to construct the crystal box was the cheapest single-pane commercial glass available on the market. It had 0 thermal protection coatings. The moment the morning sun hit the tower, Liam's luxury studio transformed into a giant, transparent solar oven. The temperature inside shot up to 40 degrees Celsius within 2 hours. The air became thick, dry, and completely unbreathable. Liam rushed to his smart thermostat and turned his central air conditioning system to the maximum setting. The machine roared like a jet engine, consuming massive amounts of electricity 24 hours a day. But it could not defeat the intense solar heat radiating from the glass wall. Liam's apartment remained hot, uncomfortable, and sweaty. Then came the end of the month, and Liam received his first summer utility bill from the building management company. He opened the digital document and almost choked on his drink. The cost for the air conditioning electricity was $450 for a single month. Because the building was entirely made of glass and cheap metal, it had no natural insulation. It could not hold cool air in the summer, and as Liam discovered a few months later, it could not hold warm air in the winter. In the winter, the glass wall became freezing cold to the touch, and moisture began to condense on the aluminum frames. Within weeks, a thick, toxic layer of black mold began to crawl out from under the luxury baseboards, spreading behind Liam's bed and destroying his expensive minimalist furniture. Stage number 3 of the modern apartment trap is the infrastructure collapse. One rainy Tuesday morning, Liam woke up at 7 o'clock, dressed in his sharpest business suit, and walked out into the corridor to take the elevator down to the lobby. He had a massive, critical presentation at his office at 8 o'clock, and he could not afford to be late. He pressed the elevator button and waited. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes passed. A small crowd of 20 angry stickmen, all wearing business suits and holding briefcases, gathered in the narrow gray hallway. The crystal box was a massive tower with 45 floors and over 400 individual studio apartments. To maximize profits, the developer calculated that installing 6 high-speed industrial-grade elevators would cost too much money and take away valuable square meters from the rentable floor plans. So, they installed only 3 cheap, slow, residential-grade elevators. To make matters worse, on this particular morning, one elevator was completely broken because a water pipe had leaked into the electrical shaft, and the second elevator was locked by a moving crew. There was only one single, slow elevator working for the entire 45-story building. Liam watched the digital floor numbers change with agonizing slowness. 50 people were trapped on the floors above him, desperately trying to get to work. By the time the elevator finally opened on Liam's floor, it was completely packed with sweating, claustrophobic stickmen. Nobody else could fit inside. Liam looked at his watch. It was already 7:40. He was forced to run to the emergency exit door, open it, and walk down 35 flights of steep, dirty concrete stairs in total darkness because the motion sensor lights in the stairwell were also broken to save energy. He arrived at the bottom floor completely soaked in sweat, his legs shaking with exhaustion. and his expensive business suit covered in construction dust. He missed his presentation, his boss screamed at him, and his professional reputation was severely damaged. All because he wanted to live in a trendy skyscraper. The final, ultimate catastrophe of Liam's luxury lifestyle arrived on a quiet Sunday afternoon. He was sitting on his sofa, trying to ignore the sound of Gary chewing food through the paper-thin drywall, when he heard a strange, deep, gurgling noise coming from his bathroom. It sounded like an angry underwater volcano. Liam walked into the bathroom and opened the door. To his absolute horror, a disgusting wave of brown, dirty water was violently bubbling up from his luxury minimalist shower drain and his designer toilet bowl. In modern mega skyscrapers, the plumbing engineering is incredibly complex. Every single toilet from the 45th floor down to the first floor connects to a single vertical drainage pipe called the main soil stack. To save money on plumbing materials and architectural space, the developer used a pipe with a narrow diameter that was completely inadequate for a 400-apartment tower. On that Sunday, a stickman on the 40th floor accidentally flushed a thick plastic cleaning wipe down his toilet. The wipe traveled down 30 floors, gathered hair and grease, and created a solid, immovable block exactly on the 34th floor, right below Liam's apartment. Because of gravity, hundreds of gallons of wastewater from the 10 floors above Liam continued to rush down the vertical pipe, but they had nowhere to go. The water hit the blockage and began to back up into the nearest available exit. And that exit was Liam's luxury bathroom. Within 10 minutes, his beautiful, uniform laminate floor was completely submerged under 2 inches of toxic sewage. The water leaked into the hallway, ruined his walls, and began to drip down into the apartment below him. Liam called the emergency building management hotline, but the automated voice message said they only operated on regular business hours from Monday to Friday. Liam was forced to spend his Sunday afternoon using his expensive designer kitchen pots to scoop human waste out of his living room. The next month, Liam decided he could not live in this vertical nightmare any longer. He went to a local real estate agency to list his apartment for sale. He wanted to get his money back and return to his quiet, older brick building. But the real estate agent looked at the listing and gave Liam a cynical smile. "I am sorry, Liam," the agent said, shaking his head. "The market is flooded with these exact studio apartments. Everybody knows that the Crystal Box has terrible structural issues, broken elevators, and toxic mold problems. The building management company is currently facing 3 major lawsuits from the Homeowners Association. If you want to sell this place today, you must drop your price by 40%, or you will wait 5 years for a buyer." Liam's heart dropped. He was trapped. He could not leave because he owed the bank $300,000 for a mortgage on a property that was now worth only $180,000. He was legally locked inside a crumbling cardboard box in the sky, working 40 hours a week just to pay a massive interest rate for a home that was actively making him sick and miserable. How can a regular stickman avoid the modern construction trap and buy a property that actually retains its value? You must follow 3 core principles of architectural health. Principle number 1 is the material over marketing rule. Never buy a property based on digital renderings, drone videos, or flashy words like sustainable luxury ecosystem. Go to the property site in person. Look at the thickness of the walls. Check the material of the window frames. Knock on the drywall between apartments. If it sounds like an empty cardboard box, walk away immediately. Principle number 2 is the density and infrastructure test. Before you buy an apartment on a high floor, divide the total number of apartments in the tower by the number of working elevators. If there are more than 70 apartments per single elevator, you are going to spend a significant portion of your life waiting in a crowded corridor. Look for low-density or mid-rise buildings with solid brick or concrete construction. Principle number 3 is the HOA Reserve Fund investigation. Before you sign a mortgage for a new building, demand to see the financial balance sheet of the homeowners association. If the developer left the building with a $0 reserve fund and the maintenance fees are suspiciously low, it means that the first major pipe leak or elevator breakdown will result in a massive emergency tax on your personal bank account. Liam sits by his glass window, watching the rain hit the city. He stops scrolling through luxury lifestyle influencers. He puts on his rubber boots, picks up a mop, and prepares to clean his floor again. True luxury is not about living on the 35th floor of a sparkling glass cage. True luxury is peace of mind, solid structural safety, and a home that works for you instead of a home that turns your life savings into corporate smoke. Stay smart, check the bones of your building, and never buy a box based on a lie.